Hello, this video is about building sawhorses. I built my first set based on an article hosted by theartofmanliness.com. They are very sturdy and very strong, and all you need to make them are a few 2x4s, a handsaw, a hammer, and a handful of nails, which is the point of them. They are accessible to just about anyone. But now I have access to more tools, so I started experimenting with the design, based on other designs I have seen. So here's what I've come up with. Sawhorses that can still hold over 400 pounds, but that only weigh 8 pounds each instead of about 25 pounds each. The real reason I thought these horses deserved a video, though, is that when you set weight on them, they will adjust, within reason, to uneven surfaces, which makes them easy to use outside. Your standard rigid sawhorses can be kind of annoying, often requiring you to kick the dirt around, place a piece of cardboard under a leg, or set them in a specific position in order for them to sit right. To make 2 sawhorses, or one set, I used the following: 2 8-foot 1x4s, 4 8-foot 1x3s, 52 screws, a set of drills with a countersink bit and a T25 to match the screws, 2 clamps, a speed square and combination square, a flathead screwdriver, a miter saw, a table saw, safety glasses and earplugs, and of course, a tape measure and a pencil. Alright, let's do this. Grab your 1x4s and remove any staples with your screwdriver, and check the ends to make sure they are square. If they aren't, square up the side you're going to measure from. Measure and mark your desired sawhorse length on each 1x4. In this case, 31 1/2 inches. After cutting your first piece, you can use it to mark out the next one, and the third one after that. Once you have all 6 cut, set them aside. The legs have what's called a compound cut, meaning that there are 2 angles for each cut. The angles are 15 degrees for the miter adjustment and 5 degrees for the bevel adjustment. You could switch them, but you'd need to lay each board on its face to cut them correctly, and it is more common for a board to be bowed than it is for it to be crooked, so it seems to me like the setup shown is a little more accurate. Now, cut one end off of your first 1x3, and then measure and mark your desired length as shown in the picture. I used 35 1/2 inches, which will make this set of sawhorses roughly 34 3/4 inches tall. Slide your 1x3 down and cut on your mark. This first leg can be used to mark the same length for the rest, just like we did earlier for the 1x4s. After cutting each one, compare the template leg with the new one by feeling for a difference in length with your hands. Since these legs will adjust to uneven surfaces once they're bearing some weight, you don't need to worry too much if they aren't all perfectly flush, but if you do your best now, you'll thank yourself for it later. And once you've got all the legs cut to your satisfaction, set them aside and swap out your compound miter saw for your table saw. For this next step, we're going to rip 2 of the 1x4 pieces, which will become the bottoms of our I-beams. This particular saw has a rack and pinion fence adjustment, making it comparably accurate to a cabinet table saw. It is tilted to 15 degrees and set to 2 3/4, so that the overall width of our 1x4 pieces will come out to be 3 inches. Otherwise, you can set your board width by raising the saw blade to 3/4 inch, and then measuring from a tooth to the fence, locking it in place when your tape reads 3 inches. You could also rip a piece of scrap just to double check. Next, rip both 1x4 pieces, and be careful. As great as these sawhorses are, it's even better to have all your fingers. Before assembling the I-beams, take a few minutes to mark the middles of your 1x4s, as shown. I mostly used my combination square, but I found a tape measure to be easiest for the beveled boards. And don't forget to mark both ends of each board. Once you have them all marked, clamp one set together, using your marks to align them. Using your tape measure, make a mark at 15 3/4 inches, and then at 9 2 inches from each end. Set your combination square using the end of the I-beam as a reference, and make 5 more marks to complete your crosshairs. Drill your pilot holes and fill them with screws. Flip the I-beam over and repeat the process, marking the beveled board at 15 3/4 inches and 9 2 inches from each side, and then setting your combination square to mark the middle, which should be about 1 1/2 inches. Now, something of note, because I don't often fasten an extra board on the top of these, I've picked up the habit of countersinking the top screws an extra 1/4 or 3/8 of an inch, as a sort of compromise to try and protect a blade that's accidentally set too deep. However, as a result, I started countersinking everything on this project like that, and my dad mentioned that maybe that wasn't the best thing. So, just to be clear, sinking your screws too deep will weaken your joints, and since these boards are made of cheap, soft pine, the screws really don't need much help to sit flush with the surface. Once you've screwed the first I-beam together, assemble your second. Next, you'll need a few more lines, so set your combination square to 1 inch and start at about the first screw, marking a line roughly 3 inches long. Do this on both sides and both ends. Since I've built several sets of these sawhorses, I have a jig that helps me to complete these crosshairs, and it helps me to position each leg the same distance from the ends. For now, you can get by without these second set of marks, though. Using a piece of scrap or something as a spacer, position a leg. Hold it firmly and drill 2 pilot holes as shown, so the screws will secure the leg to the beveled edge of the I-beam. Still holding the leg firmly, use your guide marks to drill 2 more holes into the top of the I-beam, at a slight angle to match the legs, and then fill the 2 holes with screws. Next, fasten the leg on the other end, and repeat these steps for the other side, and then the other I-beam, and you've got yourself a new set of sawhorses. If you give each set their own color or number of racing stripes, you can easily tell them apart, so you don't confuse one from this set with one from a shorter or taller set you might make later on. If you're planning on using your sawhorses to mostly cut lumber, you can easily fasten another board, such as a 2x4, to the top of these using some wood glue, such as Titebond. This way there can be no screws hiding inside the board waiting for you to forget about them. So there you have it. These sawhorses are lightweight, and the legs are flexible enough to adjust to uneven ground, while still being able to support in excess of 400 pounds apiece. Thanks for watching, and good luck on your projects.